Good evening. I'm Allison Donnelly, and I'm here tonight with local author, educator, and librarian Sharon Brubaker. Sharon is the author of the Green Man series, which happens to be set in Cecil County. Over the weekend, I read book 1 of the Green Man series. It's called The Greening. And as someone who grew up in Cecil County, I loved reading a story where the major interesting areas in Cecil County were a focal point. So can you tell us about some of the major themes throughout your books?
I guess they would be called cozy mysteries, which means they don't have a lot of sex and violence, and even though there are murders.
I wondered what that meant.
I think if you think about cozy mystery, it's more like romantic suspense from long ago, although there are some spiritual themes as well. The Green Man figure itself adds a little bent to fantasy, but he is an archetypal figure that's been throughout history as a spiritual figure. So there are some spiritualism things in the themes of the book. Mm-hmm. And Sylvia, the main character, is a young woman who is really, it's a coming of age story in many ways. I mean, her grandmother passed and she inherited her house at the tip of the Chesapeake Bay. Mm-hmm. And so she's really finding herself as she goes along throughout the books. So I don't want to give away too many spoilers since you haven't read book 2 or book 3 yet, but that's the major part.
So can you tell us how you found the Green Man? In your bio, it sounds like you have been interested in the Green Man and the symbolism for a long time.
Well, I was in a creative writing class in 9th grade, and we had to write something about a color, and for some reason I wrote about this Green Man in a prose piece, and it stuck with me. I knew he'd always be in a story or a book, but I wasn't sure what, and I just thought it was kind of a weird thing because I dream about him and I'd think about him. And then when I was in my 20s, I found out that there really are green men, mm-hmm. and I started looking at the foliate-faced figures that you see a lot. In Europe, you see them a lot in churches, and they guard Christ and Mary, baby Jesus and Mary, mm-hmm. throughout many of the churches. If you think of the Da Vinci Code, and they talk about the Rose Line, and it goes up to Rosslyn Chapel, the home of the Masons, there are over 400 green men there. I think here in the United States, we see them mostly in garden art. If you go to the cities, you see wonderful green men. In Baltimore, there's one outside of the Walters Museum, about the next block up. Cool. New York City, the Greenwich Village, Barnes & Noble has one on the top of the one-door window. So they're all over the world. There's probably a green man for every culture. But once I found out he was real, I just started looking for more and more and more information about him. Way back when the internet was at its baby stage, there was a listserv, and there were people also communicating about the Green Man. We see a lot more of them in Europe. I would love to do a Green Man tour, although you can get a book on the Green Men of New York City if you want to go on a tour. And I knew he'd always be in a book. So when I was working on my master's degree, I always said I'm going to write a fiction book. I've written curriculum and I've published curriculum and mm-hmm. stuff for education. But when I was working on my master's, I thought, I'm going to write a novel. And I thought, well, no one's going to do it for me, so I need to do it. And I read somewhere if you write 1 page a day, that at the end of the year you'll have a novel. I thought, well, that makes sense. So while I was doing my papers and my master's thesis, I started working on this. And that's how it came to be. And
yeah. That's great advice about writing 1 page a day. So in the book, it seems, the way I interpreted it anyway, that the Green Man sort of takes on the reminder about preserving the environment. And yes. Do you think that that's, is that what the Green Man symbolizes generally? Or is that how you have channeled him into your book?
I think in recent years he's been looked upon as an environmental figure. He's always represented birth, death, and rebirth, and that has come into play. William Anderson is one of the big Green Man gurus, and he has a book on the Green Man. And a large portion of his book is dedicated to the Green Man being part of the Earth. A long time ago, there was Captain Planet, was an old cartoon. Again, he was a little blue, but he was a green man, and he's helping to save the Earth. And then we look throughout history, there's Gaia, who's the female counterpart to the Green Man, and she's kind of the skin of the Earth, but the Green Man is also her protector. Many cultures, I believe in Bali, he's a protector of children and the environment. So you find that in many, many cultures. The Ents in Tolkien, the people of the trees, there are all kinds of little leanings to the Green Man helping to try and save the Earth.
So your book takes place in the series takes place in Cecil County and the Chesapeake Bay area. And you have a map which was designed to accompany your book. So why did you decide to make the stories set in Cecil County?
Well, I live in Cecil County and I love Cecil County. I work in Delaware, but I truly love Cecil County, and it would just fit. I had actually driven down to the Hanses Point area, and I decided it was the setting to my book. And I find writing very magical. It's a lot of hard work, but it's also magical, and things just kind of come about. And so it just grew from there. And they always say, write what you know. So as you travel around Cecil County, all these places just seem to be right for the story. I came about with a map because I've always enjoyed going to where books take place. Even as a child, I would get very excited about going to a favorite author where the book was set. And my marketing person, Meredith Keating of Greenwich Muffin Designs, said, oh, I can do a map for you. And that was so exciting to me because that's what I like to do. So she came up with this fabulous map. So you can take a tour through the book. You can actually go and have lunch where the characters had lunch, or you can kind of go around and find out where the murder took place in each novel. So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I love this map. I thought this was so cool. So where can Cecil.tv viewers go to learn more about your books?
They're available at www.amazon.com, as many books are, and barnesandnoble.com. But locally, you can go to Kathy's Corner in Northeast Maryland and the Palette and the Page in Elkton, Maryland. Both terrific places to go. So.
And you also have a website.
I do, yes. It's Sharon-Brubaker.com. Yes. And the maps are there if you want to do an interactive. So if you want to go on a tour with your phone, you can do that, which is fun.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.